Hello and welcome to the second part of my devlog series. In this episode, I will set up the project, prepare the main management UI, and plan ahead what we will be needing to make it work. So I've went ahead and prepared some stuff for this episode, because I want these episodes to be short and to the point, without you having to sit through minutes of me clicking around with little to no commentary. So let's start with the main scene. I created a new project in Godot. Working title so far is Kemono Springs, which didn't give me any Google results, so it might as well end up to be the final name of my game. But I'm always open for better suggestions in the comments, as long as it's not one of those weird isekai titles that fill out an entire paragraph. Also, look at me, providing a reason to ask for some user engagement. Sneaky, sneaky. So our main gameplay scene is going to be the Spring Manager, which I made a 3D scene simply because I don't want to lock myself out of the option to potentially use 3D assets for a game background. And I also added a camera. And here you can see a quick MS Paint mock-up of the Spring Manager HUD we are going to build. I'm sticking to the standard UI design principles here, which means important elements should be at the bottom and the left side of the screen, and secondary elements should be on the top or right side of the screen. So the bottom will have the character portraits with stamina bars, and you can highlight a character by clicking on it, which will then display the animated full character art on the right half of the screen, and some control elements for assignable jobs and interactions. On the left side, we have customers listed with small head silhouette icons and requested trait icons next to them. And when you select a character at the bottom, the UI will automatically highlight the matching traits and gray out the ones that are not matching. And customers that have not a single matching trait will be grayed out entirely. When you assign a job to a servant, then the job indicator will be shown above the stamina bar. And on the top right, we have the status bar with the current day display, the money and renown values. And also on the bottom right, we have a progress button that can be used to skip to the next day if you spend all your stamina on your characters. I'm not sure this will stay like this in the final version of the game, because I think at some point we might want to create a hub map for this game, for like stuff like adventuring, the shop, etc. And in that case, I probably want to use this button to switch to the hub map instead and maybe put the progress button there. Also, there's some reserved real estate on the bottom left for a tooltip pop-up. I will try to avoid mechanics that need extensive tooltips, but sometimes we have no other choice. And I haven't decided if this game will be PC only or potentially get an Android version too. But since this is a management game, the only thing that would really change in that regard would be that I can no longer use mouse over tooltips and have to use click tooltips instead. So this is the plan for our game HUD. So let's hop back into Godot and try this out. I start with two control nodes, one on the bottom left holding the servant bar and one on the top left holding the customer bar. And the servant bar is divided into a horizontal grid. And this horizontal grid will each hold a control element of a predefined size, which I split up into another vertical grid. And this vertical grid will divide this area into two parts. The top part will hold the portrait, which I filled with a placeholder image, and the stamina bar. And this is basically just the servant element for now. And just to see if we set it up correctly, if I duplicate this control element here, then this should neatly fill up the bar without any further input. And it does. Great, awesome. So this will allow us to basically instantiate this servant element node and just create copies of it for every servant with minimal code input needed. We'll apply the same technique for the customer bar. So let's scroll to the top left. I divide this place in a vertical grid, and the vertical grid slots will be filled with a control node of a predefined size each, which will be the customer element. And each of those controls is filled with another horizontal grid that divides this part into two major areas. The left part of this grid will be filled with the image, so the icon of the customer, and the right part will hold the trait icons. So I'll have another vertical grid here. And the top part of this area will be filled with the individual trait icons. And I went ahead and placed 3 dummy images here just to see if they get positioned correctly. And the bottom part will get a placeholder. I used the label here. I'm not sure what I am going to need this space for, but it's neat to have some empty real estate here, just in case I need something else. So this is the customer element for now. And again, let's do a sanity check here. If I duplicate this element, then it should neatly fit into this bar and extend this bar downwards, and it does. Awesome. So let's do a quick check. If we compile this and run the game, then it should have the right sizes. So let's click on the play button. And I need to set it up on OBS so that you can see it. OBS. Yeah. There it is. So this is how it looks in game now. And I think the size of the elements is satisfying for now. Maybe the portrait on the bottom side is a little bit too large, but I will leave it like that for now and maybe adjust in the future if I see this is too large. It takes up too much real estate, then I'll need to make it smaller at a later point. The customers also feel a little bit too large for my first impression, but I have to check it out with actual art to make a judgment on that. So, yeah. For the next part, we will have to fill this with life. So, do a little bit of coding. But I think I'm going to do this in the third part of the series, so you have to be a little bit more patient. Oh, by the way, I am still collecting feedback on how to improve my emotional range on my commentating. To be honest, this is very hard for me because I'm East German and my accent is really strong. And I try really hard to cover it up, and this is making me speak very monotonously at times. Let me give you an example of how I would usually talk. Hallo, ich komme aus Ostdeutschland und wie ihr hören könnt, sächsel ich sehr stark. Ich versuch's abzustellen. I have to laugh. Goodbye.